Hello everybody, Steve Cunningham here, and welcome to my orange chicken sauce review. Now, I've got a great recipe that I'm going to be talking about over the course of this video. But before I do that, I want to deep dive into this whole craze. Why are so many people obsessed with orange chicken? Everywhere you turn, it's in the grocery stores, it's in your favorite Chinese restaurants, non-Chinese restaurants, your favorite wing spots. The sweet and savory, citrusy, crunchy, delicious dish is available everywhere, and everybody's trying to figure out how to make it. One of the most beautiful things about orange chicken is there's a ton of different ways to create this dish. It is incredibly versatile, which can also cause some confusion. So if you get online and you're checking out the videos, the noise may start to sound like this. And some of you are just want to throw your hands up and say, forget it. But fear not, I got your back. It doesn't matter if you're on a low-carb diet, a low-fat diet, a low-sugar diet, or you just want to get it the way you get it at your favorite restaurant. I'm going to break down the key components of this dish in a way that I haven't seen done on any other video before. And with this information, you're going to be able to customize your own perfect orange chicken sauce based on the components that you love the most. And for those of you that like step-by-step instructions, I'll walk you through my base recipe that can be used with sugar, honey, brown sugar, sweetener, or can be made without any type of sweetening agent whatsoever and still taste delicious. Now, bearing all that in mind, I find there's 6 or 7 steps that most YouTubers are incorporating into their recipes while not also considering some alternative. Things that involve one's budget or access to certain types of food, lifestyle choices, or dietary restrictions. I'm going to cover as much of that as I can. Alrighty, to sweeten or not to sweeten. Most recipes use either sugar, brown sugar, or honey. Depending on what you have in the pantry, you can use any of those 3 interchangeably. In some videos, you'll see people using heavily sweetened orange drinks. I've seen people in the UK using orange squash. In the US, I've seen people using Fanta, Orange Crush, or Tang. I'll dive more into that in the next section as we talk about artificial versus real orange flavoring. And for those of you interested in using less sugar or no sugar whatsoever, I'm going to thoroughly discuss that near the end of the video as I break down my recipe. But for those of you that want to grab a quick screenshot right now, feel free to do so, or you can also copy and paste it straight from the video description. Alright, let's get back to it. What is your favorite way to sweeten? Please drop us a comment and let us know. If you're cooking with sugars, you're going to want to do them in a saucepan on a low to medium temperature until you get a low boil. If you use an artificial 0-calorie sweeteners, you don't need to cook it at all. Just throw all your ingredients in a blender with a little Xanthum Gum for thickening. Xanthum Gum works awesome. It's super cheap. You can buy it at Walmart. It's gluten-free, it has no calories, and it's in tons of things in which you're probably buying every day. Alrighty, it's time to dive into the topic of orange flavoring. What's better, real or fake? One might think that real must be better, but obviously for many of you, it is not. And to be honest, it isn't always for me either. The OG of this dish, Panda Express, they use artificial flavoring. Makes many people think, well, if artificial's good, real must be better. And that opens the door to a whole canon of conversation. Because I don't want to go down a serious rabbit hole, I'm just going to say this. What's tastier on a cheeseburger? Fake processed American cheese or a slice of cheddar? There's a reason why some people will pay more for a block of Velveeta cheese than they would for some cheddar or Monterey Jack. There are certain things with that product that just make the brain go ding, ding, ding. And there's absolutely no doubt that there are some similar things going on with the orange chicken that set off fireworks even when you're using artificial flavoring. Now I'm getting ready to dive into the most important part of this dish, but I want to say this. When you can't eat what you love, get as close as you can, because food is good for the soul. Now, virtually every single recipe on YouTube for orange chicken starts with an ingredient or ingredients that could be used to make orange syrup. Usually made with orange juice, orange zest, and sugar, occasionally with corn syrup or another sweetener, and some people use reduced orange drink products. I'm also going to talk about the healthier options. When going all natural with the orange peel and the orange juice, either fresh squeeze your oranges or use a quality orange juice product or concentrate. Cheap orange juice and dried zest often contain too much pit, the white part of the orange. You want to avoid that. And you want to be careful to avoid it as well when collecting your own zest from fresh oranges. The pith imparts a bitterness that can be cut a little bit with sugar, but it's really tough to cut if you're going with a low sugar or no sugar option. I think the two main reasons people use artificial flavoring versus all natural is to avoid that bitterness and to save money. And while I haven't done the research, I'm guessing most orange flavorings probably start with zest. By cooking down an orange soda, you can get the syrup that it originated from, and with a huge boom in homemade sodas, I'm guessing there's a wide variety of orange syrups you can buy and skip the whole process of cooking off the water. I know Torani makes an orange syrup. They even make a sugar-free version, which I've purchased, and it's great. One of my favorite ways to make orange chicken involves my no sugar added recipe. I simply marinate overnight or for 24 hours and cook it just like that. I did this in the air fryer oven. You could also cook it in a smoker or on top of the griddle. If you want to get a little bit of that wok flavor, just throw in some oil in a wok and give it a good toss. The marinade gives it a nice punch of orange flavor with a touch of umami. It's delicious. Another way to get a powerful punch of orange flavor involves a hack using tang. I've got some in my pantry and it works. On an occasion when I wasn't even making orange chicken, I added a little bit to a General Soy Sauce, a homemade sweet and sour sauce, my honey sesame chicken sauce. I'm even planning to make some tweaks to my current recipe and try using a sugar-free version of this with it. Alrighty, next up, let's talk about tenderizing and marinating. Well, not necessarily part of the sauce recipe, we're just going to call it recipe adjacent. But if you're going to use something like a chicken breast or a pork loin or a tough cut of beef, something like a round bottom roast, you're definitely going to want to tenderize it first. If you're not familiar with the term velveting, I definitely recommend watching some videos on this. It's another term for tenderizing and it's often used with Asian dishes. One thing I've noticed as well is a lot of people use tenderizer or tenderizing ingredient in their marinade, and it works. If you're going to deep fry your chicken and you're going to toss it in a heavy sauce afterwards, marinating is not as important. It still adds a beneficial component to the dish. You definitely want to get at least 30 minutes with some salt and pepper. Alrighty, next let's talk about something that is also sauce adjacent. Flour power. What's the best flour to use if you're going to deep fry or bake your chicken? There are a lot of varied opinions on this. I personally like to use half cornstarch, half all-purpose flour, but I've also seen a bunch of videos where people are talking about using potato starch, tapioca starch, I think even rice starch. I've never used any of those products, but I'm guessing they all work pretty much just like cornstarch. But whatever technique you use and you like, go for it. I've done things with 100% all-purpose flour and that tasted delicious. It does appear that there's an online consensus that using something like a potato starch or cornstarch with your all-purpose flour is better. For most of my life, I just deep fried with whatever I had on hand. All-purpose flour, bread flour. I never used cornstarch prior to about 2 years ago. But for me, the jury's out. I just can't test it enough. I can't eat enough deep fried food to give you an educated assessment on what is better. To me, I'm happy with anything deep fried. Now, with that all said, deep frying and eating things coated in heavy sugar-based sauces isn't really an option for me these days. I'm working on losing 100 pounds. I'm about a third of the way to my goal. I do miss some of my favorite Chinese and Chinese-American dishes, things like sesame chicken, General Tso's, and obviously orange chicken. So I created this recipe to enjoy some of the best parts of this dish without all the excess fat and sugar. I'm also planning to make similar recipes for things like General Tso's and sweet and sour, no sugar added. As I mentioned earlier, you can definitely incorporate sugar, honey, brown sugar, or a variety of sweeteners into my recipe, and I'm confident it will taste fantastic. Okay, I'm ready to dive on in. I'm going to go line by line with these ingredients, talk to you about different things you can use, alternate ingredients, things that can be skipped, and things will make the dish better. If you don't mind a little extra sugar, you can substitute that water for more orange juice. Also, if you're going to use sugar and you're going to be breading your chicken, I recommend skipping both the water and the xanthum gum. Thickening the sauce with a cornstarch slurry is a better method for that type of cooking. Also, as I mentioned earlier in the video, if you're going to use the orange juice without sugar or with little sugar, you need to make sure you got a quality orange juice because you will be able to tell the difference. For the vinegar, you could use regular white distilled, you could use apple cider vinegar, you could use rice vinegar. I've yet to crack open my first bottle of black vinegar, but I might try that in the future as well. For the zest component, fresh is definitely best. But if you're making large batches, it might not be easy. I do have a video showing you how to make some great dried zest on your own that's better quality than a lot of the stuff available in the stores. If you are going to buy dried zest from the stores, you might need to add a little bit of sugar, but there may be a way to cut some of the bitterness with artificial sweeteners, but I'm really not sure. I recently got a really good deal on a couple pounds of dried zest from Amazon, and I'm hoping to find a way to cut out a little bit of its bitterness with artificial sweeteners or limited amounts of sugar. As far as the ketchup goes, you can go with the no sugar added option or the regular. There's not a lot here, so even if you go with the regular ketchup, it's not going to add much sugar at all. Regarding the soy sauce, I'm going with a light soy sauce. If you're not familiar with the difference between dark and light soy sauce is another name for the typical sauce you get at the grocery store. There are different qualities of soy sauce, but in the end, the better the quality product you have, the better the end result. Next up, oyster sauce. I definitely think this should be in every orange chicken sauce recipe. It adds an amazing depth of flavor, and at your local Asian market, it's super cheap. If you don't have a bottle of Lee Kum Kee oyster sauce in your house, run out and get yourself a bottle today. It is awesome in so many things. Regarding the garlic and ginger, if I was in a time crunch and I didn't have anything fresh on hand, yes, I would go ahead and just use the ginger and garlic spices from the cabinet. But it's not the same. Whether fresh or in the tube, it adds something that you just can't get from a dried spice. Now, one of the nice things about my recipe is it can be made without having to cook down anything. Simply throw all the ingredients in a blender. But I do think there is a benefit to cooking your garlic and ginger with a little bit of oil till it's lightly browned and then adding it to the mix. All right, let's talk sesame oil. A little goes a long way. I'm using a tablespoon here, which I think is perfect for me, but you might want to go with less. Maybe just a teaspoon or a half a tablespoon. Now, regarding the xanthum gum, definitely a little bit goes a very long way. Just adding a couple grams too much, and you go from having a sauce to having something the thickness of a mayonnaise, which I actually did in one of my experiments. It definitely came out thicker than intended, but it was kind of a happy mistake. I realized this would be perfect for a thicker dipping sauce, or it could be used as a salad dressing. This recipe is definitely versatile. There's a lot of different things you can tweak on this to make it your own. I'm looking forward to creating some brand new recipes building from this. You can simply substitute the orange juice and the orange zest for lemon and have an amazing lemon chicken. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, I'd love to find a way to do a no sugar added General Tso's, maybe even a sesame chicken as well. And before wrapping up today's video, I want to leave you with some really important final additional thoughts. This sauce is great for marinating. I also like to use it sometimes like a yum yum sauce, put a little bit over the chicken and rice that's been marinated in this sauce. Because this recipe has a higher water content compared to a traditional sauce, it's not going to work as well with things that have a breading. It's going to take away some of that crisp. I've yet to do an experiment with less water to see how it would react to the crunchy coating. I'm guessing it's possible if you use it right away, it might not make much difference, but it definitely would create some sogginess over time. For those of you that are still with me 13 minutes into the video, I cannot thank you enough. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, please hit that subscribe button, and y'all have a fantastic day.